Hi there, it's me. Let's talk about how to control weeds in the garden. We finally got some rain. It's been probably almost 5 inches in 3 days. It's a lot of rain. We've got a little bit of break this morning, but we are supposed to get more rain later. But this seems like the perfect time to talk about my method of weed control, which is primarily laying cardboard down everywhere that I can. Cardboard happens to be a good choice for us because we order a lot online, for better, for worse. We kind of we live out in the country, sort of. We're a little bit rural. It's hard to really get into the city, and during the year we're very, very busy. We also buy boxes of meat, boxes of produce. We use ButcherBox and Imperfect Foods, highly recommend. And we buy certain things in bulk from Amazon as a, what do they call it? It's not a recurring purchase, but I mean, it is a recurring purchase. So there's a particular peanut butter brand that we like. We buy it in bulk, and so it comes regularly, for example. That leaves us with a lot of recycling, and we end up with a bunch of cardboard boxes, which take up a lot of space. So this is kind of a perfect method of utilizing it. It does break down into the soil over time. It is pretty good at keeping the weeds down. You will see in between the strips of cardboard that the weeds come up. They break through the cardboard sometimes. It's not a perfect system. But I'm not really worried about creating a perfectly manicured environment, because I do want those beneficial insects. I do want an environment where wildlife can thrive, that wildlife still wants to come to, because I am trying to get them to come here and pollinate the flowers and eat the caterpillars and the bugs. So I'm not really worried if I have a little flower popping up here and there. I have, the garden coreopsis behind me. There used to be a bunch of coneflowers. And then every once in a while I come through here and I pull up everything that's growing. I weed around the plants because that's, where I really don't want the competition. So right in the direct area around a plant, I will weed. The tomato and okra bed has to really be weeded. Right next to the row of tomatoes is a trench, so the water can run off, and so putting cardboard there is just not really practical. It's not easily maintained. However, it does come with some downsides, with some problems that have to be addressed. Like I've mentioned in previous videos, this is a very wet climate, and the cardboard is the perfect place for slugs and snails to hide during the day, to get some shade, and then they can crawl out and feast on my plants. And I will admit, that has been a bit of a problem this year. I have had a number of slugs and snails on my cucumbers, but they haven't really devastated anything, so they're a little bit annoying. They can be a little bit gross, but they haven't really been an actual problem. What I use to combat it, if it does look like things are getting worse, is just a little bit of DE, diatomaceous earth. I just spread it around the plants. But again, this is a wet climate, and if you get any significant amount of rain, the diatomaceous earth becomes less effective. So you can see here, I have used a number of cardboard boxes. Sometimes I have to tear them up or cut them up to make them kind of fit the area better to fill my needs. And this is kind of my walkway. Even when it's really muddy, it's pretty easy to walk on this cardboard. Separates the beds. Keeps it weed free. We don't have to weed whack it, so there's no chance of getting too close to a plant and cutting it out on accident. But as you can see, I do need to weed this garden pretty badly. Okay, let's try pulling up some of this cardboard and seeing what we find. This is already deteriorated a good bit. Okay, so here are some snails hanging on. This is the layer of cardboard that was there before, and it started to break down, the weeds started to grow through it. Oh, here's a worm, so that's a good sign. So it was time to put down another box, and you can see this is a imperfect food box. There's some more worms, so that's a good sign. So yeah. So, you know, the snails are the real problem that I have to worry about, but again, I'm not noticing any significant snail damage on these plants this year. It does need to be weeded. Your other, weed controlling options include just hand weeding, but for a larger garden, obviously that would take forever. And during the large portion of the year, the majority of the year, I am working all day. And I have to leave early in the morning, and then when I come home in the afternoon, I usually have more work to do, and or it's really hot. So, you can't do that. You can use some kind of, say, a rotary tiller for wide areas. If you plant your rows really far apart, you can just go down through them, and that's a method of weed control. It's not, I wouldn't say it's, your catch-all weed control. You'd probably still have to do some spot weeding. You can buy some landscaping fabric of some sort. It's usually a kind of plastic material. It's more money than I want to spend, and if it starts to break down, then it can, at least the stuff that I've used in the past, it can get broken down into small pieces, and then you've got small pieces of plastic in your garden. I have seen some homesteaders use it, and during the off season they kind of have to pull it up in order to preserve it, to make sure that it stays in good condition. Otherwise, weeds will start to break through it or grow over it and break it down. So that's not the option I want to go with. You can buy, I have heard, large rolls of a kind of cardboard material. So it's landscaping fabric, but it's like a cardboard material. Again, you're buying something, and I get this for free. So, does it encourage things like snakes and snails and slugs in my garden? Yes. Spiders? Yes. So there are risks to it, there are downsides, but I have never run into having large snakes in the garden. We try to keep large areas around the garden pretty tame so that the snakes are encouraged to be elsewhere in the less tame areas. They won't be as inclined to just come and set up shop in the garden. And any snakes that do would have to be small ones. There just isn't enough room for a big one anywhere to hide. And then slugs and snails, I just keep an eye on the damage they're doing. They do some damage. But I just keep an eye on it. If it seems like it's getting too bad, I put some diatomaceous earth around the plants, on the edges of the cardboard, and I try to do it when there's not forecasted to be rain for a couple of days, and then that usually helps tame them. Alright, so that's it. If you have any questions or suggestions about weed control, I would love to hear about it in the comments.